Hello, welcome to the Barron Area Community Center. My name is Mary Pardee, and I am the 4-H Youth Development Educator for the University of Wisconsin Cooperative Extension here in Barron County. Tonight, our presentation is on reclamation of non-metallic mining sites. Please join me in welcoming our presenter, Bronson Thalacker. He is the County Technician and Specialist for Barron County Soil and Water Conservation Department.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and to be a part of this event. Mining, sand, frac sand. It's been a hot topic in Barron County the last 5 years. What's being done about it? What regulations are in place? What is the site or the pit going to look like when the operation's done? What if they just walk away from the operation? Those are a few questions I hope to answer tonight in talking about the Barron County Non-Metallic Mining Reclamation Program. I'm going to talk about the purpose and the requirements of the program, as well as the standards of reclamation. I hope everyone gets a better understanding of the objectives of the program and a better understanding of mining operation from start to finish. I want to start off with a quick history of non-metallic mining in the state of Wisconsin, as well as an overview of non-metallic mining in Barron County. Non-metallic mining is the extraction of stone, sand, rock, or similar materials from natural deposits. Non-metallic mining has been going on in Wisconsin for well over 100 years. In December of 2000, NR 135 was passed into state law. In the summer of 2001, NR 135 was adopted by Barron County. Barron County Department of Land Service is the regulatory authority. We ensure effective reclamation that meets the standards of NR 135. We're responsible for the review and permitting of reclamation plans. And we're responsible for the inspections, administration, and enforcement. Here in Barron County, we deal with two types of non-metallic mining operations. One is the sand and gravel operation. A lot of this material is used for roads and infrastructure. And the other is the industrial sand operation. The industrial sand boom, or the frac sand boom, hit Barron County hard between 2008 and 2010. So just to kind of clear the air a little bit, the NR 135 and the ordinance, the non-metallic mining ordinances were in place before the frac sand boom. Just want to make that clear. The sand is extracted, processed, and exported out of state for the production of natural gas and oil. Operations in Barron County. There are 67 sand and gravel operations, totaling 1,993 permitted acres. Of those permitted acres, 790 are actively being mined. We have 17 industrial sand operations, totaling 4,648 permitted acres. And of that, 1,038 acres are actively being mined. Permitted acres in Barron County. I hope you can see that all right. The green polygons show the permitted acres of both sand and gravel operations and industrial sand operations. North of Highway 8 is the majority of the sand and gravel operations. Even though they're scattered throughout the county, the majority of those sand and gravel are north, and all of the non-metallic mining industrial sand operations are south of Highway 8. A lot of activity in the town of Arland, and a lot of action down in Sioux Creek and Dover townships. So what is reclamation? What does it mean? It's a loaded question. Reclamation means the rehabilitation of a non-metallic mining site to achieve a land use. That's very important, to achieve a land use. Specified in a non-metallic mining reclamation plan approved under this chapter, including removal or reuse of non-metallic mining refuse or reject material, grading of non-metallic mining site, removal, storage, and replacement of topsoil, stabilization of soil conditions, reestablishment of vegetative cover, control of surface water and groundwater, prevention of environmental pollution, and if practical, the restoration of plant, fish, and wildlife habitat. So let's look at that end land use or post land use. The proposed post-mining land use shall be consistent with your local land use plans, shall meet local zoning requirements, as well as comply with local, state, and federal law. The most common and acceptable post-mining land uses here in Barron County are consistent with the surrounding landscape, which has been agricultural areas, pasture land, or forested wildlife areas. The proposed post-mining land use will dictate, this is a good statement here, the proposed post-mining land use will dictate the final slopes, drainage patterns, site hydrology, and seed mixes. And again, the most common acceptable land use and land uses that we're seeing are those reclaimed into grassland, pasture land, agricultural, and wildlife habitat and reforestation. We're not seeing those elaborate reclamation plans being turned into golf courses or recreational lakes. So here I want to run through a quick sand and gravel operation start to finish. This is a typical sand and gravel pit. It's your extraction site. You got your crushing equipment. You have the stockpiles of material, your trucks hauling in and out, and you can kind of see your stormwater pond there in the bottom right. When they're all done with this operation, extracting and moving material, the reclamation process starts. Here, they're bringing in material from an off-site excavation. They're shaping this site, and this will be followed up by the redistribution of topsoil and seeded down, which results in your final reclamation. Here we have a site that was reclaimed into grassland wildlife habitat. The slopes are coming up with trees and shrubs, and the mine floor was in native grassland. On a much larger scale, we have the reclamation of the industrial sand operation. Here we have a map showing the existing site and contours map. It's a 40-acre parcel ridge sloping from northwest to southeast. Here's another look, a cross-section, generalized cross-section look of the parcel. The red line shows the existing topography. The blue in this case is the overburden that will be removed, stockpiled, and bermed, and seeded and stabilized, and then later on used for reclamation. The sandstone will be extracted, and final reclamation will result in the 3-to-1 slopes. This site is, the reclamation is internally drained. Here we have the different phases of the operation. You can see the different overburden berms and topsoil kind of in the down right, and the different phases of operation west to east. So again, here's kind of the existing site, the before picture of this 40-acre parcel. Here's the site afterwards, and this was a recent aerial photo that they're already beginning to backfill into that site. Here's another photo of the excavated site. And here we see the material backfilled and the shaping process beginning. Now, as far as the industrial sand operations, Barron County is just starting to see this. We're looking at 2 sites in particular that are really starting to do reclamation. Otherwise, again, it's at its infancy stage, if you will, and we're not seeing a lot of it right now. This is the post-mining contours map. Like I said, it's going to be an internally drained site with 3-to-1 slopes, your drainage patterns going inward. And this is the reclamation concept map. This 40 acres will be reclaimed into a dry northern forest, which is your jack pine and pin oak. Here's another reclamation concept map cross-section view of that parcel. So how do they get to that point? Let's talk about that. Reclamation plan, permit required. The reclamation plan is there's a lot of content that goes in with that, a lot of material and a lot of information. No non-metallic mining will occur without a reclamation permit, and a reclamation plan is the basis for granting a reclamation permit. A reclamation plan is the blueprint describing the steps that are necessary to reclaim the site to achieve that post-mining land use. Reclamation plan, I'm going to do a quick overview of these topics. Again, a lot of material goes into these reclamation plans. Site information. The site information includes your legal description, your parcel IDs, your residence within 300 feet of the mine boundary, maps of topography and drainage, your geology of the area, your wetlands and groundwater information, your existing structures, your endangered species, and historical information. The site information also requires mining operations data, volume of material, methods of stockpiling and processing, erosion control and vegetation plans, stormwater management plan and information. The stormwater regulations, they fall under the jurisdiction of the Wisconsin DNR, but that's an additional permit that we require them to have before we issue the reclamation permit. The post-mining land use, again, this is extremely important because it will dictate how those operators will achieve that post-mining land use, or a successful reclamation, I'm sorry. The reclamation measures is a description of the proposed earthwork and reclamation, talks about final slopes, contours, site stabilization, and vegetative plan. It includes the description of topsoil removal, storage, and redistribution. The section includes maps of final reclamation, estimated costs of reclamation, and the quantifiable standards for assessing successful reclamation. The criteria for assessing completion needs to be measurable. The quantifiable standards can be based on your percent cover, plant diversity, plant density, or productivity. All these need to be taken into consideration because this is the final step before certifying successful completion. Once you certify successful completion, you can't go back. And that brings me to the reclamation standards. These are more of the action-based things that we can actually go out there and inspect. All the non-metallic mining sites shall be reclaimed in conformance with these reclamation standards. Surface water and wetland protection. Here we have an example of a wetland delineation map. The operator is required to do a wetland delineation study of the mining area and submit the report to Barron County as part of the reclamation plan. The identified wetlands or surface water fall again under the jurisdiction of the Wisconsin DNR under NR 102 and NR 105 of the Wisconsin Administrative Code. I believe the setbacks from wetlands and surface water is that 50 to 100 feet. So all diversions and drainage from the site need to be constructed accordingly to prevent pollution of these areas. Groundwater protection. Operators are required to install monitoring wells and follow sampling and testing requirements. The elevation of the water table must be measured on a regular basis to ensure groundwater quantity is not affected because of mining operations. A list of parameters is required to sample and test for to ensure protection of groundwater quality as well. Topsoil management. Topsoil is removed and generally stockpiled at the borders of the mining site. Volumes are calculated to ensure adequate amounts for final reclamation. Topsoil redistribution ranges from 3 to 8 inches in thickness. Final grading and slopes. Final reclaimed slopes covered by topsoil material may not be steeper than a 3-to-1 horizontal to vertical incline slope. Topsoil redistribution. Topsoil material should be redistributed in accordance with the reclamation plan. Redistribution shall be done in a manner to reduce compaction yet prevents erosion. So let's look at some successful reclamation. This site's material was used for a Highway 8 project and was reclaimed in 2009. It was reclaimed back into agriculture. The farm has a small portion of grassland wildlife habitat. That's the after. Again, before, after, and here's a photo from ground level. Now into a nice looking alfalfa field. He's got a small drainage pond on the far north there with reclaimed grassland wildlife habitat. Here we have another successful reclamation photo. This site material was used for a county road project and reclaimed in 2010. It's now reclaimed as a grassland wildlife habitat. Here we have a photo of a private operation that was reclaimed in 2012. The operator did excavate into the groundwater, and it's now reclaimed into wildlife habitat. Let's talk about the financials. Financial assurance. This is a key requirement of the program. It ensures that the reclamation plan is completed. If the operator chose to walk away from the mine site, this is Barron County's security blanket. All operators of non-metallic mining sites are required to submit proof of financial assurance. The objective of financial assurance is to ensure reclamation. The amount of this financial assurance is based on the cost to implement the reclamation plan. It can be in the form of surety bond, letter of credit, certificate of deposit, or cash, and it's made payable to Barron County and may be released upon the successful completion of reclamation. Very important is the financial assurance. Permitting, just kind of want to read through the points of permitting here. Permit required by all non-metallic mining operators. Reclamation plan needs to meet all the requirements of NR 135 and the Barron County Non-Metallic Mining Ordinance. Before permitting, a public notice must be published, and there must be an opportunity for a public informational hearing. That's generally a 30 to 60 day process. Once it meets all these requirements, then we can issue the non-metallic mining reclamation permit. Inspections. The following are the things we look for when we're out in the field. Operating within the permitted area. Now this slide shows an overlay of the permitted area to be mined, and in the backdrop is the aerial photo of what is actually being mined. You can see that he's operating outside of his permitted area. In this situation, Barron County has the authority to shut the operation down and issue a citation. In this case, the operator needs to make amendments or changes to his reclamation plan and go through that permitting process. We look for erosion control. Here we have a picture of the silt fence to the left, and we have a ditch check or a sediment bale on the right. Here we make sure that these are all in good condition. Another thing we're looking for is that vegetation. I'll talk about that in the next slide. Now, a lot of the erosion control falls under the jurisdiction of the DNR, the Wisconsin DNR, and that stormwater permit, but there is a lot of overlap, so we look for the erosion control measures up as well so that none of that erosion and washout is going on to another property or into a waterway. Vegetation establishment. Really like to see things green up. Need to get those roots down into the soil and stabilize everything, prevent it from washing out. In this photo, we can see things greening up real nice in a waterway on the left there, and then on a topsoil berm to the right. That photo to the right, we would like to see a little bit more erosion control there, and they were actually putting down the straw e-matting and the ditch checks that day when I was out there taking that photo. But things were really popping and greening up nice. Finally, we inspect it to make sure that they're following through with the overall reclamation plan, start to finish. Is that operator on the right track to achieve that post-mining land use? Administration, just want to touch on these points briefly. Permit modifications, we're able to make amendments to existing permits. The most common change that we've came across is an expansion or additional acreage to a permit. Permit suspensions. Barron County may suspend or revoke a non-metallic mining reclamation permit if it finds the operator has failed to maintain financial assurance or if the operator has failed on a repetitive basis to follow the reclamation plan. Annual operating report. Operator is required to submit to Barron County an annual operating report. This report includes contact information, location information, acreage affected by mining extraction, any reclaimed acreage, an updated map identifying the acreage affected. Regulatory reporting to the DNR. Barron County is required to submit a report to the DNR annually. This includes the total number of mines in the county, number of new mines, acres approved of mining, the number of acres that are currently unreclaimed, and the number of acres that have been reclaimed with the release of the financial assurance. Wisconsin DNR program audit. Now, the Wisconsin DNR is the regulatory authority over Barron County's non-metallic mining program. We're required to go through an audit to make sure we're running the program in compliance with NR 135. Fees. The following are the fees involved in the non-metallic mining program. There's the plan review fee. This is a one-time fee for the review process of reclamation plan. Any amendments to the original permit are subject to the plan review fee as well. Annual fees, the annual fees are based on the active or unreclaimed acres. The Wisconsin DNR fee, they share a portion of that as well, and they're based on the unreclaimed acres as well. The financial assurance, which we talked about before, this fee is also based on the unreclaimed acres and is determined by the project cost to follow through with that reclamation plan to achieve that post-mining land use. Enforcement, right of entry and inspection. No operator may refuse entry or access onto a non-metallic mining site of a duly authorized officer, employee, or agent of Barron County. The appropriate credentials must be presented, and the inspector must have the appropriate safety equipment needed to comply with any of the federal, state, and local laws. Orders and citations. Barron County may issue orders or citations set forth in Chapter 295. Chapter 295 is another state statute that deals with reclamation and more of the enforcement issues. Penalties. Any person who violates Chapter NR 135 and Barron County Non-Metallic Mining Ordinance may result in forfeitures as provided in Chapter 295 state statute. So wrapping up, that is the Barron County Non-Metallic Mining Reclamation Program. I have a list of references here that you can go to for additional information. And I also have my contact information to get a hold of me with any questions.